and some of their trends, like assigning them a category like rise and shiner for those people who call Ubers early in the day.
Increased surveillance in Oakland, why the city's moving forward with additional flock cameras after recently banning the move. Then a car goes flying off a tow truck on a busy East Bay highway and ends up on the BART tracks. How that crashed during yesterday's afternoon commute is still causing problems for riders this morning. Then we are hours away from a primetime address by President Trump. What we know about the likely content of that speech early on.
From KTVU Fox 2 News, this is Mornings on 2.
Good morning and welcome back. I'm Garcia Micaelian.
I'm Andre Sr. It is Wednesday, December 17th. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Many of you waking up to wet roads across the Bay Area. Devin Truby's here with us this morning to talk a little bit more about your forecast. Devin.
Yeah, we have finally broken that 3-week dry spell, and the rain is here, and it's certainly not going anywhere. As we go ahead and take a look outside, a little cloud coverage and mist in Santa Cruz this morning, though. One thing's nice about the rain, it's warmed us up just a little bit. Temperatures anywhere from 5 to 10 degrees warmer waking up this morning than what many people experienced last week. Already 60 in San Francisco and those mid-50s in the East Bay and South Bay. Accumulation totals so far for the last 12 hours. Not a bad showing, I would say, already this morning. We'll continue to see that rain through the 7 to 8 a.m. hour before we move to scattered showers for the rest of today before a somewhat dry evening and dry Thursday. Visibility about a mile in Santa Rosa, mile and a quarter in Petaluma, mile and a half in Nevada, something to be mindful of. Same around the city as we're starting to see that mist and fog settle in a little bit more. It's just something to be mindful of, and I would say it's certainly impacting the traffic, is it not, Sal?
I would say so, Devin, for sure. I think that, for example, yesterday morning, we had half the number of crashes. Right now, let's go to Oakland Bay Bridge. You can see that traffic is okay. The bridge crews and CHP did a pretty good job getting an earlier crash off the span. It's kind of started us off on the wrong note, though. East Shore Freeway is also pretty heavy. And, of course, Highway 24, in case you're just waking up and joining us, 24 is very slow out of Lafayette because of an earlier crash near Wilder that still has some activity on the shoulder. 7:01, let's get back to the headlines.
All right, speaking of vehicles, license plate readers will stay put in Oakland. That's the final vote by the City Council after hearing from more than 100 people speak on that issue. KTVU's James Torres is live with the details of a new contract signed between the town and Flock. James?
Good morning to you, Andre. Well, we know Flock is the creator of those license plate cameras. They've been in Oakland since the summer of 2024, and now the city plans to keep them for at least another 2 years. That was the agreement made yesterday. The City Council voted 7-1 to expand the nearly 300 camera network. OPD representatives say Flock has helped them lead to more than 200 arrests and dozens of cars and guns recovered. During an hours-long session of public comment, some people argued the idea of promoting safety and security to help track down violent criminals is a good reason to keep Flock around, while others raised concerns about the data collected and whether the Flock cameras offer information to federal immigration enforcement agencies, which police have long denied.
Oakland's system will not be used in nationwide searches or used as a backdoor for federal enforcement.
Lawsuits haven't worked, settlement agreements haven't worked, state law hasn't worked, the surveillance ordinance hasn't worked, the use policy hasn't worked. The Oakland Police Department cannot be trusted with this technology.
Council members supporting Flock spoke to voters before the meeting, while advocates against are launching a lawsuit saying Oakland has already violated its policies. Police say the cameras only scan license plates, no faces, and that the data is deleted after 30 days unless it's determined to be used as part of a criminal investigation. Agencies outside of California, including the federal government, have no way of collecting that data. And if other departments within California want that info, then they need to make a formal request. Councilmember Carol Fife was the one vote against keeping the contract, arguing the commitment to Flock contradicts with Oakland's commitment to be a sanctuary city. That new contract will cost the city about $2 million. Live in the newsroom, I'm James Torres, KTVU Fox 2 News.
James, thank you. This morning, BART's running reduced service on the Pleasanton line as repairs continue on a track that was damaged when a car flew off a tow truck on 580 and landed on the BART tracks in Castro Valley. All BART service in the area was shut down for several hours yesterday. Traffic was snarled during the afternoon and evening commute. It was almost 2 hours before a crane lifted the car off the tracks. Lanes reopened around 6 p.m. There were BART delays for the rest of the night because BART had to single track through that area.
So I was stuck in Castro Valley for a bit. They told us 20 to 30 minutes until they could clear the track. But then after like maybe 5-10 minutes, they managed to get a train on the other track, on the other platform, and that train took us slowly, but it took us to West Dublin and then here. It was super full. I've never seen a BART train that full.
BART says it'll be single tracking again between Castro Valley and West Dublin Pleasanton this morning as work continues on repairs. Trains are stopping, though, at all Blue Line stations.
Meantime, more details are coming out regarding that fiery car crash in a Redwood City hardware store. It happened Monday evening at Hassett Ace Hardware, located at the Woodside Shopping Plaza. The driver slamming her car through the front entrance. A worker standing in the checkout lane narrowly missed being struck by that vehicle.
I was trying to pay attention to my kids because I knew they were there. They were walking in. I was at the first register, and I walked away too, and I stood a foot away too. So I think it was just God. God looks out for you.
Both the car and the building caught fire. Witnesses say the driver looked like she was in shock and had to be removed from the vehicle by Good Samaritans. The hardware store will be closed for a while for repairs. There is no official word yet on the condition of that driver.
People affected by a destructive blast near Hayward last week took their safety concerns to officials. Neighbors say they've been concerned about the ongoing construction there on Llewellyn Boulevard, even before the explosion that destroyed 3 homes and sent 6 people to the hospital. Many spoke at the Alameda County Board of Supervisors meeting last night, telling the board they're angry the county didn't address prior concerns about the construction project and flooding. Some people told the board they're worried about staying in their homes as the project continues.
Jenny never alerted us that it was the gas leak in the neighborhood, so people were still using, I'm sure, the gas at the time of before the explosions.
There's really no connection between the previous requests to not even see this project happen and the fact that this event happened. It's a coincidence.
PG&E and a fire inspector have been checking gas lines in the area. The NTSB and Cal OSHA are still investigating the explosion.
Our time now, 7:06. Parents, students, and teachers in the San Francisco Unified School District pushing back on plans for cuts to address a budget crisis. The district holding town halls to hear from families about how to address a $102 million deficit by the end of the school year. The school board is considering several proposals, including reducing administrative staff at schools and in the district office and shortening the school day from 7 periods to 6 for middle school. These proposals were met with opposition at last night's school board meeting.
It makes me mad because this is an unnecessary burden to place on SFUSD families.
We're here for students, to center them and to make sure that we're changing their lives positively. They are the future of tomorrow.
We're looking at creative solutions, at ways that we can really stretch our dollars and make the most of our limited resources so that we can do the best possible work we can for students.
Well, next town hall is January 13th. The school district has to send a budget to the state by June 30th of next year.
Happening today, President Trump will address the nation in a primetime speech posted on social media saying, "I look forward to seeing you then." Political analysts expect him to tout the differences between his administration and that of former President Joe Biden. The White House says President Trump will point out his accomplishments and look ahead to new policies for 2026. Analysts also expect he'll talk about the economy, including a drop in gas prices and possibly the expiring Obamacare subsidies. Democrats say he's done little to address the affordability issue. They also argue health care premiums will skyrocket if nothing is done to extend the subsidies. Of course, we'll have the president address for you live here at 6 o'clock tonight on KTVU Fox 2 and our streaming platforms.
Time is 7:08, and I sound like a broken record, but I want to go back to Highway 24 because we had a crash at Wilder Road. Highway 24 traffic is slow. I also want to mention that if you're driving in Contra Costa County, Highway 4 is extra slow this morning, backed up almost all the way out to Summersville Road because of the wet weather. I really think the wet weather has a lot to do with why we're extra slow this morning. And it's not even raining hard, as Devin quite clearly pointed out. When it does rain hard, I think we're going to have even worse commutes. So put that in the back of your mind. This morning, if you're driving onto that San Mateo Bridge, it's moderately heavy heading out. So it's going to be a tougher commute. You know, it just 15 minutes will do a world of good if you can get out of the house early. It's a tall order, I know. 7:09, let's go back to the desk.
All right, Sal, thank you. Waymo is tapping into a new market. What happened when a group of seniors stepped outside and found the future waiting in their parking lot?
Warner Brothers is responding to Paramount's $100 billion offer, why company leaders are calling the so-called hostile bid inferior, and why they want shareholders to go with Netflix instead.
Jacoby & Myers has been a proud part of the California community since 1972. We've stood by our neighbors, helping hundreds of thousands of families get the justice they deserve. Whether it's fighting insurance companies or fighting for you in court, we'll stand up for you. At Jacoby & Myers, we know the stakes: your family, your health, your future. For over 50 years, we've been California's trusted name in legal care. If you've been injured, call us today at 1-800-5-MILLION, because you deserve justice.
President Trump's expected to sign an executive order as soon as today to reclassify marijuana from a Schedule I drug to a Schedule III. The Drug Enforcement Agency defines Schedule I drugs as having no accepted medical use with high potential for abuse. Stage 3 is defined as having a low to moderate risk of physical and psychological dependence. The move wouldn't fully legalize marijuana, but would allow scientists to do more research.
Well, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy has launched a nationwide audit of non non-resident drivers with commercial licenses. He's threatening to withhold hundreds of millions of dollars in highway funding from several states, including California. The federal government says these states have improperly issued credentials to non-citizens, including asylum seekers and DACA recipients whose licenses may remain valid after their work permits expire.
President Trump signed a new executive order expanding travel restrictions into the U.S. to nearly 40 countries. The move doubles the number of countries on the list. The new full entry bans will be imposed on several more countries, including South Sudan, Syria, and individuals from the Palestinian Authority. It goes into effect New Year's Day. The White House says the order is driven by national security concerns and widespread corruption in the affected regions.
Well, this morning, the Warner Brothers Discovery Board wants those shareholders to reject the multi-million-dollar takeover bid from Paramount Skydance, saying the Netflix offer is better for consumers and customers. Paramount is offering $30 per Warner share, while Netflix is proposing $27.75. But the Netflix bid does not include buying the cable operations of Warner Brothers, such as CNN. The merger with either company will alter the landscape of Hollywood and face intense scrutiny from federal regulators.
Some seniors are taking advantage of the expanding network of self-driving cars across our state. A group of seniors in San Diego got a first-hand look at Waymos as the company expands to that city. Senior advocates say the autonomous rides are a breakthrough for older people who live alone and face major transportation barriers.
About a third of folks in San Diego who are seniors are by themselves. They don't have family, they don't have friends, and if they are unable to drive, they can't get out. So finding options for them to still be engaged and active members of the community is going to be better for their physical health.
Waymo says the technology aims to help older adults nurture their independence and stay active in their community.
All right, speaking of cars, the cars that people are behind the wheel, hopefully, keeping their hands on the wheel right now with the slick roads. Sal Castaneda is here this morning at 7:15 with a look at that.
Yeah, the weather doesn't help on a day like today, Andre and Garcia. First of all, let's go to the San Mateo Bridge. I want to show you that. It's crowded, and looks like you're driving off into a cloud. And, people do slow down, and I don't blame them. I might slow down, too. Well, if everyone slows down, the commute itself is slower. Bay Bridge is backed up beyond the maze. Metering lights are on. We've been talking a lot about Highway 4, and you could see it before, but now you can't. You see what happens? So the weather is changing as we speak. If you are driving in Contra Costa County, I want to mention that Highway 4 itself is very slow, and so is 24, a little slower than usual, getting into Orinda and to the tunnel because of an earlier crash we had near the tunnel. It really did its number on the drive up to the tunnel. 7:16. Let's bring in Devin Truby with today's weather.
Yes, Al, probably going to continue to rain on our morning commute for at least the next hour before we start to move towards scattered showers in the afternoon. Hopefully a mostly dry evening and then a dry Thursday. Let's talk about your day-to-day. Pretty much everybody in those low and even mid-60s around the Bay Area and inland. You see partly cloudy conditions. Here are your highs today, which is this a nice warm up, and these temperatures will continue before we have a bit of a cooler weekend. Talking about the next possible rain on Friday. Thursday should be mostly dry for us before we get into a bigger system on the weekend. So Friday evening, we'll get that rain. Saturday late afternoon and definitely into Saturday evening before Sunday. That's the big system where we start talking about the potential for some isolated thunderstorm activity, also some high wind activity. And then once we make our way into the weekend, well, it's pretty consistent rainfall through the week, definitely through Tuesday and all the way pretty much through the holiday too, maybe a little off and on around Christmas Eve and Christmas, but still going to be a very wet week next week also. As we see, just you've got bands of moisture continuing to move in one after the other after the other. Next week, this will create some snow in the Sierras. We're going to start to see the snow levels dropping tomorrow to about 7,800 feet. However, overnight low is still making it difficult for that snow not to be too slushy and really start to stick. This will be a storm that impacts holiday travel for next week. So if you're headed somewhere on the roads, things will continue to be wet. And if you're flying up and down, especially in the West Coast, you're going to have this weather system impacting you also. As we see, this is Christmas Eve, and it's definitely going to rain. So if you were thinking about hosting some of that gathering outdoors, let's maybe start thinking about the alternatives here, folks. We talked to you about the Sierras. This is going to make for a very messy commute if you're headed up the hill this weekend or next too. I know a lot of families like to spend their school break up there. Still waiting for more snow next week, though, to really probably start to get to that fluffy powder that our skiers and snowboarders anticipate. A look at the 5-day forecast showing us that the 60s are pretty much going to be the story, along with on and off rain all the way into the holiday. My gift to all of you, you don't have to run the sprinklers, so saving you just a little bit on that water bill, or maybe you're spending a little more on PG&E for the holiday lights. Gracias, Andre.
Someone's always waiting, Devin. Thank you so much. All right, coming up, the clock is ticking for a nonprofit organization that's short thousands of toys for families in need. What you can do to help make sure all Bay Area children receive a gift for the holidays. Next. (7:21). Welcome back to Mornings on 2. A cool gray look out your window if you happen to live right across from Levi's Stadium down in Santa Clara. A ton of clouds above. Look, a bird right on cue. Today is the first wet day, and there's his friends. Today's the first wet day we've had in weeks. So many of us have been eagerly anticipating the rain, and right on cue, it's here. We're shifting to an entirely different weather pattern starting today. It's going to be with us for a while. We'll keep talking with our meteorologist, Devin Truby, coming up in just a minute. Now to the city here, as the owners of older buildings in San Francisco who were facing a 2-year deadline to add fire sprinklers may get some relief. New legislation was introduced this week to give owners of close to 10,000 apartments additional time to make the fire code upgrades. A committee will review the feasibility of adding sprinklers to those buildings built before 1975 and will come up with criteria that could exempt some of the buildings from the mandate. If approved, the new deadline to meet the new fire code would be 2030.
The new supervisor for San Francisco's Sunset District is looking for ways to add parking spots to the neighborhood. Alan Wong says he's going to submit a formal request to the SFMTA asking for a comprehensive review of the areas of opportunity. He says he's already faced complaints from business owners about 2 recent changes, the city's implementation of the state's daylighting law, which bans parking within 20 feet of a crosswalk, and modifications to the El Taraval Muni light rail.
The cost of parking in San Francisco could be going up in the near future. To fight a large budget deficit, SFMTA is recommending increasing rates at parking meters by 25 cents an hour, increasing late fees for parking citations by 10%, and ending the Clipper Savings Program, which gives discounts to people who pay with their Clipper card. No word yet on when the SFMTA Board of Directors will vote on these recommendations.
A Southern California woman says her family is devastated after an Amazon delivery person apparently stole their cat. Home surveillance video shows an Amazon worker coming to the door and dropping off a package last Thursday, and then he couches down and picks up the family's Siamese mixed cat, Piper, and walks off. Piper has been with the family for 6 years. She has a microchip but was not wearing a collar at the time she was abducted.
I just felt sick and helpless because I thought this guy just took my cat, and I felt like I have no way of how do I get a hold of him. She is a really special cat to us. My husband passed away in an accident, and we got her 2 months prior to that. So she's kind of been a source of comfort, especially for the kids, and she's kind of that lasting connection, you know, to him.
The cat owner says she's called Amazon several times. She says Amazon knows the identity of the driver but is not doing anything about it. Law enforcement announced last night they have identified the worker and charges are pending, but the cat has not been located.
7:24. We used to call this being in the zone. Now it's all about a flow state. We'll talk with an expert in a minute about how to achieve that heightened mental state and the factors that come into play.
A charity in the South Bay opening its doors to families in need this holiday season, but they're short thousands of toys. How you can help. And fighting blight in the South Bay facing a historic hurdle. We're live with a San Jose City Council member that is proposing an alternative option.
From KTVU Fox 2 News, this is Mornings on 2.
It is 7:27. Welcome to Mornings on 2. I'm Andre Sr.
Good morning. I'm Gassia Mikaelian. It is a busy one. Today is Wednesday, December 17th. Let's get outside. We can see and feel that weather change we've been wishing for weeks, Devin.
Yeah, the first rain since November 20th, if you can believe it or not. As we take a look outside, we can see a little bit of that cloud coverage is left over for us, and we are starting to see a little bit of clearing, a little bit of sky there in the background. Other than that, we'll still see partly cloudy skies throughout today. As we take a look at temperatures right now, 5 to 10 degrees warmer for most places than what we experienced this time last week, as we're seeing about 60 in San Francisco, a little bit of showers there, and showers in the East Bay also in the mid-50s. And the South Bay accumulation so far in the last 12 hours looking pretty decent, but this is just the beginning of what will be a lot of rain as we move into the weekend and into next week also. Visibility been a little bit of an issue this morning, as we still see about a mile in Santa Rosa, mile and a half in Petaluma, mile and a quarter in Nevada, and city of San Francisco really starting to see those fog kind of linger over the top of them as well. And a mile in Concord, where I know Sal has been monitoring crashes pretty much all over this morning. No one has been spared, huh, Sal?
Freeways have something going on. Let's start this morning, Devin, with the East Bay commute, Highway 4 westbound. I want to show you that this morning it's backed up longer than normal. It's backed up from Summersville Way. And I have good news on 780. They cleared the crash that was there finally, 780 at 2nd. So the lanes are open, but there's still a big backup. It should start loosening up now, but they just opened up the lanes. You know, the Bay Bridge had an earlier crash. They cleared it quickly, but still kind of backed up beyond the maze. 30 to 40-minute delay if you start at the very end of the line before you make it onto the bridge. Now, 7:29. Let's get back to the desk.
Thank you, Sal. We're so happy to see this light rain we're getting in the Bay Area. Meanwhile, a rare blizzard warning is in effect up in the mountain passes in western Washington.
The snow comes as other parts of the state are still dealing with life-threatening flooding and strong winds. Reporter Sean Chitness is in Snoqualmie Pass. Sean, what are you seeing there as far as conditions right now?
Well, Andre and Garcia, good morning. Yeah, so we are here at the top of the pass. This is about an hour east of Seattle, and we can see some of the conditions that have made people concerned about that blizzard warning, which you mentioned is pretty rare. We're in one of those vehicles specially designed to take us through this winter weather, so I'm going to show you what we can see outside of our car here. This is off of the roof cam. So a decent amount of snow on the ground, but right now conditions somewhat on the mild side. We did see some really strong winds earlier this morning. We've been here for a few hours now. Some of those winds actually clocked up to around 100 miles per hour, sending either the rain or snow that we've been dealing with this morning in either direction. And of course, all of this is happening as we've seen power outages in the area, debris on the roads, and then of course the flooding that this state has been dealing with for over a week now. So the hope is if we continue to see some snowfall in this area, that will actually prevent too much more water getting down to those areas that have been impacted by flooding. Now, this rare blizzard warning is in effect for a few hours, and so that's why all drivers in either direction have been told to avoid this. But this is along I-90, the main freeway to get across the state. So we will see if drivers are able to avoid that travel in what is otherwise a busy time for tourists and, of course, for business that is trying to get from west to east here. But for now, at least, we're happy to report that conditions are looking pretty good, and we've been able to avoid some of the most serious concerns when we talk about that blizzard warning. Guys, back to you.
Sean Chitness in Snoqualmie Pass. Sean, thank you so much for that update from that area. Getting hit twice, snowstorm, and we have the rain that they're dealing with and flooding as well. Sean, thank you. Happening now at 7:31, the South Bay nonprofit Sacred Heart is beginning its annual holiday toy distribution, but this year the organization is having difficulty meeting demand. KTVU's Ali Rasmus joins us from San Jose with the urgent plea for more toys just a week from Christmas.
Yeah, just a week from Christmas, and the toy distribution is going to be happening today and over the next couple of days. So that's why there's this urgent call out. We're at Sacred Heart Community Service. This nonprofit has a food pantry as well that operates year round. And so early this morning, that's what all the workers here are hard at work doing, hauling out crates of food, also diapers and other essentials. But their big project happening today and the next couple of days is their toy giveaway. And Sacred Heart says they need the public's help. Let's show you what their toy store essentially looks like inside the doors here. They've already set up a room full of toys for families that have pre-registered to come in and shop from for free starting this morning. The way the giveaway works, parents come in, walk through the donation center. All the toys and gifts are displayed to look like it's a real toy store with items grouped by age and interest, and parents get to select or shop for free to pick out 3 toys for their kids. Now, right now they have about 18,000 toys for about 5,000 kids who have pre-registered, but they are short 3,500 toys. So that's why they've put this call out to the community to come and help. Organizers say without this program, many of the kids in these families wouldn't get a gift at all on the holidays. With the cost of housing and groceries going up, there is an urgent need.
For our folks who pre-registered in early November, and these are all members of Sacred Heart, folks in this community that are working families and are just trying to kind of make ends meet, and we hope that this program can just make their holiday a little brighter.
So here's what you can do. You can drop donations off Sacred Heart Donation Center, 1381 South 1st Street in San Jose this morning. In fact, just a minute ago, we did see some of the volunteers here hauling out the bins for people to go and drop off those toys. They are looking for new unwrapped gifts and toys for kids of all ages, the age range 1 to age 17. And then later this morning, the first families who pre-registered will get to walk through the donation center, the toy store, if you will, and start selecting the toys. And again, there are 3,500 toys short approximately, so there's going to be another wave of families coming through tomorrow and on Friday. So they're hoping that they can meet that goal before then. Live in San Jose, Ali Rasmus, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Ali, thank you. Meanwhile, funerals are beginning today for some of the victims killed in this weekend's attack at Australia's Bondi Beach. The first funeral was for a beloved rabbi who'd organized the event. A public memorial was also held for the youngest victim, a 10-year-old named Matilda. Her parents and other mourners gathered in Sydney. The family had arrived from Ukraine before the Russian invasion.
We came here from Ukraine, and Matilda was my first born in Australia. Remember the name? Remember her?
Prosecutors today charged the surviving suspect with 15 counts of murder and 40 counts of intent to murder. Other charges include committing a terrorist act and firing a gun to cause bodily harm. For more headlines from around the world and the state and here at home, let's go to KTVU's Dave Clark, who's in our newsroom. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Garcia. Andre, thank you. Good morning to you. President Trump now ordering a blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers going into Venezuela. The order comes after the U.S. seized a tanker off Venezuela's coast last week. In a post on social media, the president argued that Venezuela is using oil revenue to finance what he called drug terrorism. Political experts say the White House is trying to prevent the sale of sanctioned oil from shadow vessels.
You know, when Trump says stolen oil, he's really referring to the nationalization of oil in Venezuela that took oil from our U.S. companies operating there and didn't compensate us.
Now, it comes after Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth briefed lawmakers about recent airstrikes on boats in the Caribbean. Democrats want to see the full video of a second airstrike on a boat after the first strike failed to kill everyone on board. But Pete Hegseth says that will not happen. A grocery store in Vallejo is being sued now after 2 employees died from carbon monoxide poisoning. Lawyers for the victims' families claim the owners of La Patricia Market ignored repeated reports from the staff who suffered dizzy spells and fainting while working in the store's mezzanine. Investigators say they later discovered carbon monoxide levels inside the market that reached close to life-threatening levels. I'm Dave Clark in the KTVU newsroom. Let's go back now to Andre and Garcia at the desk.
All right, Dave, thank you so much. Time now is 7:37. The effort to fight blight in the South Bay is facing a hurdle. San Jose city leaders say historic preservation rules make it hard to clear out old properties that are damaged, blighted, or burned out. But now that could be changing. We're joined live by San Jose City Councilmember Anthony Tordillos. Thank you so much for joining us, Councilmember. We appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
All right, so you have a proposal with the mayor, but before we get to that, can you lay out why the rules are causing problems for the push to clear out blight in the city?
Yeah, so there's a couple different challenges here. One is just the requirements under the historic preservation ordinance itself, how we go about doing renovations, tenant improvements on older buildings, and the ways that those can make it really expensive for both residents and small business owners who want to invest in a lot of these older properties. So that's really what we're trying to get to with the heart of this memo.
Yeah, in some cases, there are reports that people have purchased these buildings not realizing that they were under this historic preservation rule and that it was going to, it takes a little bit more effort to get those buildings up to code. Is that my understanding of this?
Yes, and that's exactly what we saw play out in Japantown. There was a serial entrepreneur there who invested in the Japantown community for many years, who bought a new property seeking to set up a new small business. They got started demolishing the interiors and getting ready to pull permits for their renovations. And then they realized that it was on the city's historic registry. That then really slowed down the whole process and caused a lot of turmoil for the owners and ultimately caused them to lose several of their businesses. So that's the situation we're hoping to avoid with these updated rules.
All right, so you're introducing a new proposal to try and change those regulations. What would you change, and what changes would these historic buildings see?
Yeah, so our memo proposes exploring a couple different changes here. One is an amnesty program for previously unpermitted construction on historic properties, as long as it doesn't cause any sort of health or safety standard or issues. And that's important because in Japantown in particular, there's a lot of properties that over previous decades have accumulated a backlog of unpermitted work. Imagine previous owners replaced windows without a permit. Maybe there was demolition or another renovation project that didn't have permits. That can then make it really expensive to invest in these properties, since you have to go back and clear out all of that unpermitted work. So this would establish an amnesty program to kind of get everyone above board and have a clean slate to start from.
But will that proposal? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Councilmember.
Oh, and then it does a couple more things as well. It also looks to just modernize the ordinance, hopefully making it cheaper and easier to do renovations like replacing windows with high efficiency windows or installing solar panels. And then it's also looking at a program to actually make it easier to petition to remove properties from the historic resources inventory in cases where the properties are severely blighted or maybe previous damage or renovation means that the historic nature of the buildings is no longer evident.
The permitting process is often the longest process here, and if you're a business owner, you need to start making money so you can start, making your payments and so forth. Is that also being addressed in your proposal?
The actual permitting process for the tenant improvements is touched on a little bit, specifically that angle of modernizing the preservation ordinance to make certain types of renovations easier. We also think that for certain cases, if a property may no longer have historic value, this new mechanism to actually remove it from the historic resources inventory has the potential to significantly increase the permitting process for future owners.
All right, and how about preserving actual historical properties versus those that have fallen into disrepair?
Yeah, historic preservation, an important cause. Our memo is really just looking at making sure that we're striking the right balance between historic preservation and making sure that residents and small business owners have the tools at their disposal to really invest in these old properties. In Japantown in particular, we see dozens of abandoned buildings that are theoretically on the city's historic preservation list for protection. But because the rules are so complicated and it's so difficult to invest in these properties, we see a lot of them end up falling into disrepair. So we're really looking at striking the right balance here while keeping protections for our most historically significant buildings like our city landmarks.
Yeah, currently the way things are, some people are reporting it creates a paradox of trying to get these buildings up to date. Thank you so much for joining us, San Jose City Councilmember Anthony Trujillo. We appreciate your time on addressing this issue that is affecting businesses in San Jose.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
Right, many of us expect the holidays to be like this magical hallmark time of year. Many of us know they can be exhausting.
Yeah.
High expectations, your schedule is packed, swinging emotions, everybody wants a piece of you. Your to-do list is endless.
It is endless. We will talk more about that when you join us on the 9, but for now, we want to hear from you. This morning, we're asking, what feels heaviest during the holidays? Here are your options: managing kids' emotions, keeping traditions alive, coordinating schedules, or financial pressures. Those are some pretty big issues there. Right now, 43% of you say keeping traditions alive. Another 43% say financial pressures, obviously at this stage of where things are with the economy. 14% say coordinating schedules. Just go to ktv.com/vote. Let us know what you think, or scan that QR code in the top right-hand corner of your screen. Be right back.
The biggest IPO of the year starts trading today, and Wall Street's reacting to the ongoing fight in the entertainment industry. Pam Cook back in studio with this in dollars and cents.
The big news this morning, Warner Brothers board telling shareholders to reject the offer from Paramount and stick with Netflix. The big question is how this will impact all of us and the entertainment industry. This morning, we talked with our financial expert, Chris Markowski, who says Warner Brothers may not like that some of the Paramount's money comes from Saudi Arabia. He also points out that the idea will impact movie theaters and whether or not the newly combined company will still release movies to the theaters, or will it all eventually be streaming? So still a lot of questions to be answered. Anderson Group rang that opening bell this morning to celebrate its IPO, but the biggest IPO of the year also starts trading today. Medline raised more than $6 billion in its initial public offering. It is a medical supply company based in Illinois. All right, as we take a live look at the numbers now, they started out up across the board for the Dow, the NASDAQ, and the S&P 500. But you can see a live look at the big board, the Dow down just a little bit, the NASDAQ and the S&P. Really no big, huge moves. It might start getting a little quiet as we get closer to the holidays. Amazon is in early talks to invest up to $10 billion in OpenAI. That deal would allow OpenAI's lab to use Amazon's AI chips. If it goes through, the deal would bring OpenAI's value to more than $500 billion. Amazon has been looking to invest more in AI and has invested $8 billion in Anthropic, a rival to OpenAI. This comes a couple of months after OpenAI completed its transition to a for-profit model. A well-known name in Napa Valley has been sold to a new owner. Mum Napa is being acquired by Trinchero Family Wine and Spirits. The company already owns other brands, including Sutter Home and Joel Gott, who also started Gott's Restaurants. Mum is the third largest American sparkling wine brand and will be the first domestic sparkling wine owned by the new company. The company did not say what it paid for Mum. I'm Pam Cook. That's Look at Your Dollars and Cents.
Pam, thank you. While most of us are just trying to make it through the holidays, some are already pledging to be their best self yet in the new year. You've probably heard people say they're in a flow state, right? Getting it all done thanks to achieving a degree of focus that can boost productivity. Let's get some insight by turning to UCLA professor and clinical psychologist, Dr. Erica Rose Mead. Thanks for being with us, Doctor.
Thanks so much for having me.
Of course. First of all, what is flow?
So flow is a state of total absorption in what you're doing. And it is when your brain becomes so engaged in a task that nothing else matters. Time feels a little bit different, distractions fade, and creativity can really spike. And it's really this sweet spot for when something is not too challenging, but it's really leveraging something that you feel skillful about.
Okay. This sounds like the exact opposite of multitasking.
Yes, exactly. It is the complete opposite of that.
Okay, so this might be one of those things I imagine like you can't force. You can't say, I'm now going to get into the flow, right? Because the more you think about it, the farther you are from achieving it. How can we just kind of overall be more effective in either our work, play, or social circles?
Yeah, so, sometimes getting into a flow state is a conscious decision that you're going to be mindfully present in the moment, focusing all of your senses on one activity. So if you're having certain thoughts that are coming up that are getting in the way, it is really just for a moment pushing those thoughts away and then later coming back to those thoughts and thinking about how to reframe them. Yeah. And it's really about focusing all of your attention and redirecting yourself back to the present moment, engaging in something that feels enjoyable and gives you positive emotions.
Can I run something by you that I've been doing for decades at this point, and I've heard other people try as well? I have little mantras that I use throughout the day. One of them is, there's nothing I can do about it now. Because if you're pushing toward a project and then something gets off track, and if you're spinning about that one thing, you're not making progress. Is that an example of achieving that flow?
Yes, exactly. And even if you're having thoughts about like, I don't have time to do this thing, and you're focusing on what you have to do right after this activity, it's also about some mantras of, when I feel busy, I can still focus and concentrate fully and wholeheartedly on the present moment. And sometimes it's just about breaking it down into more achievable goals, like 5 minutes, you're going to practice getting into a flow state.
and making sure there are no distractions around you. But when you get into a flow state, it feels so good. It actually can be a buffer for most people against distress, especially during the holidays.
That positive self-talk you just gave us an example of is often the opposite of what we do. Can you talk about kind of how we talk to ourselves affects so much of what comes out?
Yeah, so in CBT, we really look at these mind traps or the thoughts that get us stuck or prevents us from, living our life in a way that's meaningful. And so if we have thoughts around self-doubt or overwhelm or all in them thinking, we really want to focus on what is it grounded in reality and grounded in the facts of what's going on and what can actually be helpful. And so there are different mantras for different people that might feel better, but I like to look at what is accurate and what is helpful. And that really can depend on person to person what feels good for them.
All right. Well, you've given us some good insight in just a few minutes we had together. Dr. Erica Rosemead from UCLA, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Of course. All right, 7:51. Let's get out the door. Let's bring our patients because roads are slick out there, aren't they, Sal?
They're slick, and we've had crashes there, Garcia. Let's talk about Highway 4 westbound and 680. We have slow traffic on westbound 4 and 680. There's a new crash involving a truck that's had a ladder on it, and it came off, caused the crash just past the interchange. We're backed up into Concord. 24 is recovering still from earlier problems. Richmond-San Rafael Bridge is moderate, and of course at the Bay Bridge, it's backed up all the way out to the Maze. It's actually kind of longer in the backup. Look at the San Mateo Bridge, kind of shrouded by rain. Just all those freeways are slow, including all those freeways in the San Jose Silicon Valley. Now it's time for the weather. Here's Devin.
Well, having a wet commute is something that's going to be continuing for us probably a little bit into this morning and definitely next week as well. Unfortunately, Sal, you're going to be a busy guy. Let's talk about your day today after we see the rain start to move to scattered showers this afternoon. Hopefully more of a dry evening before a dry Thursday. Seeing temperatures in those low to mid 60s at the Bay Area. Partly cloudy across the Bay. Nice 10-mile-per-hour breeze for most today. A few more highs for you to show on the screen. Popping up in the South Bay, 65. That's a nice place to be. Let's talk about this rain. So after it's a part of today, and then you're going to have Thursday as your day to get the yard ready before we really start to see just continuous rain. Friday evening, the next time we'll have that big system start to move in. There it is for us. And then Saturday, we'll also start to see a little bit of a break. Cloud coverage will move in the morning hours before we get this massive system Saturday evening. Sunday is when things turn into the possibility of isolated thunderstorm activity, even some high winds also. So after we make our way into Sunday, it's going to probably consistently rain through Tuesday. So yes, this will be impacting folks headed out the door for their holiday travels this weekend and into next. We just have these bands of moisture continue to move right through the Bay Area, and this is going to be all the way until Christmas Eve for sure, probably through Christmas also. As we take a look at the extended forecast, we can see the rain with us and a significant amount. Usually December is our wettest month of the year. We are going to finally catch up. We normally get about 3 to 4 inches in the month of December. This is our first day of rain so far, but we will get there by the end of the month. And this is our 5-day forecast showing you those 60s, which I think everyone appreciates, things being just a little bit warmer, Andre.
All right, Devin, thank you. Opinions over free speech putting a conservative high school group on the line. Next at 8, accusations that Turning Point USA is driving division and what the organization is saying about it. And certain pennies are now worth millions. What's making the now retired coins so valuable? The very latest United States pennies and last United States pennies ever minted sold at auction for more than $16 million. The record-breaking sale marked the end of the 232 year of 1 cent production. Investors fought for the final lot, which featured the historic last ever penny. It sold for $800,000 from an anonymous collector. The auction follows the government's decision to end production of the 1 cent piece last month due to rising inflation costs. San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie says the city's effort to fight the fentanyl crisis is already seeing results. The mayor spoke about the programs as part of his final monthly report of the year to the Board of Supervisors. He says the fentanyl state of emergency ordinance is already expanding care and housing for addicts, including the addition of 150 recovery beds and more.
My Office of Innovation, in partnership with SFPD, used the ordinance to bring on pro bono consultant through the Civic Bridge program to support accelerated police hiring.
Mayor Lurie says he wants to expand the program by establishing an intervention approach targeting street drug sales. It's a model combining law enforcement and social services that he says has shown to be successful in other cities. San Jose is considering making a program that removes abandoned shopping carts littering streets and waterways permanent. New numbers show the pilot program that ran from August to November collected 734 carts at a cost of $32,000. It followed passage of a new state law allowing the city to collect a $100 fee from retailers for picking up those carts.
Exactly who those retailers are and who those managers of those stores are. We can be proactive agents ourselves and be requesting these property owners and store owners to be better custodians of their carts.
The city will now survey retailers to see how the program is working for them. If funding is approved, the permanent program could be in place by the spring. Uber is taking a page out of Spotify's playbook and releasing a yearly summary of users. Uber users can now view a personalized recap of the year in rides and food orders that they have taken and received with the YouTube app Uber feature. It shows stats like how many restaurants they have ordered from and some of their trends, such as assigning them a category like Rise and Shiner for people who call Ubers early in the day.
A controversial surveillance system expanding in Oakland. The action by the city council to bring more flock cameras in. The message to people concerned about privacy and how the resulting data will be used. Plus,
it's an illegal arrest. You have no warrants.
Chicago back in the spotlight when it comes to federal immigration enforcement efforts. Why the return of the Border Patrol is affecting more than families who fear being torn apart. Then,
I'm not a hateful person. My club's not a hateful organization.
Free speech is allowed to everybody, but that does not cover hate speech.
How a Northern California high school is at the center of controversy over free speech. The student-led club that's somewhat removed from campus, and the response.
From KTVU Fox 2 News, this is Mornings on 2.
It is gray, it is gloomy, and we love it. Looking live out here across Oakland and beyond, we have been waiting for this rain for weeks, and it is finally here. We're expected to kind of shift into a whole new weather pattern in a second, so we'll go deeper into that on a very busy day. We're glad you're here. I'm Gassia Mikaelian.
I'm Andre Sr. Wednesday, December 17th is the day, and we've got the fog. We've had that for the last couple of weeks, but then you have the rain on top of it. Cause for concern if you're heading out on the roads. You've got to be a little bit careful when you're out there this morning. Devin Truby joins us live with the forecast for this morning. Devin?
Yeah, Andre, rain is continuing to be a part of our commute this morning before we move into scattered showers for the rest of the day. A mostly dry evening and Thursday, though, before we get to that very wet weather pattern in the future. Taking a look outside at Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. Got those gray skies. We're going to see partly cloudy throughout the day and a nice breeze today, probably about 10 miles per hour. A few rain in certain places. The city, Concord, and up and down in parts of the East Bay right now, as we're seeing temperatures already close to 60 in Concord and in San Francisco as well, 57 down in the South Bay. Early accumulation totals over the last 12 hours. We'll get some more for these of you as well, as we started to see the rain definitely pick up around 7 a.m. this morning. And visibility has been an issue with these conditions, down to about half a mile in Santa Rosa and Petaluma, a mile in Concord. And we talked to a man who has not had a break and has been very busy this morning. The rain just getting started, and unfortunately, so are some of the traffic headaches. Huh, Sal?
That's right. We've had a lot of them. Thankfully, a lot of them have already been taken care of. Let's go to the Richmond Bridge. You will see some slow traffic there. So everywhere is slow. Bay Bridge is slower than usual, even though it looks the same here. The line is just longer. San Mateo Bridge the same. We had some problems in the East Bay, but now we're looking at the South Bay commute, which is filled in the Santa Clara Valley. Another update just minutes ahead. Now at 8:01, let's get back to the headlines.
Thank you, Sal. License plate readers will stay in Oakland after a final vote by the City Council following a meeting in which 100 people spoke on the issue.
KTVU's James Torres is live with the details of a new contract signed between the town and Flock as well. James?
Good morning, Andre and Garcia. Well, Flock, we know, is the creator of those license plate cameras. They've been in Oakland since about the summer of 2024, and now the city will keep them around for at least another 2 years. The City Council voting 7-1 to expand the nearly 300 camera network, and that's a few weeks after the Privacy Advisory Commission failed to push the idea forward in a tie vote. OPD representatives say Flock helped lead to more than 200 arrests and dozens of cars and guns recovered. During an hours-long session of public comment, some people argued the idea of promoting safety and security to help track down criminals, violent criminals, is enough of a reason to keep these Flock cameras around, where others raised concerns about the data collected and whether the Flock cameras offer information to federal immigration enforcement agencies, which police have long denied. Public comments lasted hours.
Why are we even here again with this? This has been rejected a number of times, and yet we're back here again, arguing a non-point.
At the end of the day, crime affects all of us, the documented and undocumented, and if we don't have a vibrant, busy, safe city, none of us have anything.
In the contract with Flock, a company that has shown it cannot be trusted. Oakland has done its due diligence with the Flock contract, but there's still a chance that our data will be leaked out to nefarious third parties. That's a risk worth taking because of the potential benefits of this system.
Police say the cameras scan only license plate, doesn't scan any faces or any details of the car, and that data is deleted after 30 days unless it's determined to be used as part of a criminal investigation. Agencies outside of California, including the federal government, have no way of collecting that data, and if other departments within California want their info, say for an investigation from another city, then they need to make a formal request to Oakland. Councilmember Carol Fife was the one vote against keeping the contract, arguing the commitment to Flock contradicts Oakland's commitment to being a sanctuary city. That new contract will cost the city about $2 million. Live in the newsroom, I'm James Torres, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
James, thank you. Following a period of relative calm in Chicago, the White House is once again targeting that city for increased immigration enforcement.
That's an illegal arrest. You have no warrants.
Some 200 Border Patrol agents are now in Chicago, 2 months after being shifted to other parts of the country. The return comes at the height of the busy holiday shopping season.
They're afraid, and I don't know, people don't want to go out, even in the mall. People don't want to go shopping.
And it's a drop in sales too, right?
Yeah, the business is going down. I think it's for everyone, not just in here.
Federal officials haven't said how long this latest round of enforcement will last.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy launching a nationwide audit of non-resident drivers with commercial licenses. He's threatening to withhold hundreds of millions of dollars in highway funding from several states, including California. The federal government says these states have improperly issued credentials to non-citizens, including asylum seekers and DACA recipients, whose licenses may have remained valid after their work permits expire.
A Northern California high school is caught in the middle of a national, cultural, and political tug-of-war. Last night, hundreds of students and parents packed the auditorium at 12 Bridges High School in Placer County. They debated whether the school district should ban a conservative youth group linked to the late Charlie Kirk's organization, Turning Point USA. The youth group gained national attention when the mayor of Lincoln, California, spoke to members about Kirk's views on diversity and said how she believes her daughter's homosexuality is due to childhood trauma. Students who oppose and support the conservative club say they feel threatened at school.
I'm not a hateful person. My club's not a hateful organization. And we're simply trying to foster civic discussion and respectful dialogue between groups of people. And I think we're accomplishing our goal beautifully, as evident of this meeting.
Free speech is allowed to everybody, but that does not cover hate speech. We respect everybody. We respect the officers, but we wish that we had respect for our families and for our identities.
The school district issued a statement saying allowing a student-led club does not equate to endorsing its beliefs. The Lincoln mayor said the video of her speech was edited and taken out of context.
8:07 your time. President Trump continues to suggest the federal government give out $2,000 refunds to address higher prices connected to tariffs, but he still has not given specific details. The president is hoping the plan will win back voters who blame him for the rising cost of living. The refunds would have to be approved by Republicans in Congress, but President Trump has not pushed in Congress for tariff rebates or a reduction in taxes. Experts say refund checks would have little to no effect on inflation.
The average American household is expected to see a 9% increase in home heating costs this winter. Federal officials warn that could increase the average monthly bill to above $1,000. Experts say the spike is fueled by a volatile mix of unusually low temperatures in much of the country, rising natural gas prices, and massive utility investments to the aging electric grid, as well as AI data centers.
Time is 8:07. We have quite a commute today. A lot of it has been affected by the wet weather. You will see the Bay Bridge backed up this morning as you drive west. No problems as you head out toward the area. Hold on for one sec. This is a look at Interstate 880. It looks pretty good, but again, the rain is enveloping the Bay Area commute. It's going to be tough. 8:08, let's go back to the desk.
Thank you, Sal. From not enough snow in the Sierra to too much up north, we'll go live to Washington, where the snow has led to a blizzard warning this morning. Plus,
we have our OG customers. We have people that have never even tried a tamale. So explaining them how to eat a tamale is really funny because they always try to bite the husk.
Well, tamale shops struggling to keep up with tariffs. How the holiday treat could cost you more this Christmas.
Jacoby & Myers has been a proud part of the California community since 1972. We've stood by our neighbors, helping hundreds of thousands of families get the justice they deserve. Whether it's fighting insurance companies or fighting for you in court, we'll stand up for you. At Jacoby & Myers, we know the stakes, your family, your health, your future. For over 50 years, we've been California's trusted name in legal care. If you've been injured, call us today at 1-800-5-MILLION, because you deserve justice.
Some of the stories we're tracking here at 8:12. Harvard University is accused of secretly investigating students who recorded a speech from former school president Larry Summers about his ties with Jeffrey Epstein. New York Times reports several students posted videos on social media of Summers talking to his class at Harvard and apologizing for his friendship with Epstein. Harvard is investigating whether the students broke school rules, such as attending a class they were not enrolled in. Disciplinary action could range from reprimands to dismissals.
President Trump signed an executive order expanding travel restrictions into the U.S. to nearly 40 countries, doubling the previous list. Among the affected countries, South Sudan, Syria, and individuals from the Palestinian Authority. That goes into effect New Year's Day. The White House says the order is driven by national security concerns. Several Republicans are siding with Democrats this morning to force a House of Representatives vote on extending subsidies for the Affordable Care Act. 4 Republicans signed on to the discharge petition, which brings it to the 218 votes needed to force a vote. The proposal from the Democrats would extend ACA tax credits for 3 years. House Speaker Mike Johnson has previously said he would not call for a vote. With 8 days until Christmas, many Latino families say nothing makes the holidays like a hot tamale. The Mexican dish is seasoned meat wrapped in cornmeal dough and steamed or baked in corn husks. It's a popular meal around the holidays, with many families ordering them in batches for Christmas. But many tamale makers say tariffs and fees have driven up the cost of key ingredients.
For tamales, the husk, the hoja, is just real expensive, especially because they come from Mexico. So, you know, all those fees, they add up. And, you know, at the end of the day, we're the ones that have to pay for all those inflation fees.
One shop says by the end of December, they'll make and sell about 15,000 tamales. In the spirit of the season, some tamale shops are absorbing most of the costs, hoping to keep tamales affordable for families celebrating the holidays.
A rare blizzard warning is in effect for the mountain passes up in western Washington state. The snow comes as other parts of the state are still dealing with life-threatening flooding and strong winds. Let's return to reporter Sean Chitness here in Snoqualmie Pass to share what conditions are like right out through that window. Good morning, Sean.
Garcia, good morning again. Yeah, so we are in this vehicle that allows us to travel through that weather, and so we wanted to give you another view here. I'm going to show you what we can see from the roof of this car, and this is I-90. We are heading west towards Seattle. This is the top of Snoqualmie Pass, which is still about an hour away from the city, and we are glad to report that we haven't seen the worst of what might be possible with that blizzard warning. There has been a mix of snow and rain, and winds did clock up to between 80 and 100 miles per hour just this morning. So that is why that is a serious concern here. But at least for now, we're not seeing too much snow on the ground here. All of this, though, adding to the issue of flooding that is happening across western Washington. And a lot of that is because we haven't seen any snow up here in the Cascades. Instead, it's been coming down as rain and then going down into the lowlands, creating those historic and record levels for the rivers in western Washington. So this blizzard warning remains in effect until noon. We'll see what that happens. I-90 again, which we're driving on right now, is the main thoroughfare to get from the west to the east side of Washington state. And so on any given day, that can potentially create some trouble for not only business that's going through, but of course, with this being the holidays, folks trying to reach family and also check out some of the different tourist destinations across western Washington. So we hope that conditions will continue to be on the mild side like we're seeing here and allow folks to get back to what their plans are. But again, we're still not over it yet. That blizzard warning in effect for another 4 hours. Back to you.
All right, Sean Chitness there in Snoqualmie Pass. Thank you for your live reporting.
Well, parents, students, and teachers in the San Francisco Unified School District pushing back on plans to cuts to address a budget crisis. The district holding town halls to hear from families about how to address a $102 million deficit by the end of the school year. The school board is considering several proposals, including reducing administrative staff at schools and in district offices and shortening the school day from 7 periods to 6 for middle schools. These proposals were met with opposition at last night's school board meeting.
Makes me mad because this is an unnecessary burden to place on SFUSD families.
We're here for students to center them and to make sure that we're changing their lives positively. They are the future of tomorrow.
We're looking at creative solutions, at ways that we can really stretch our dollars and make the most of our limited resources so that we can do the best possible work we can for students.
The next town hall is January 13th. The school district has to send a budget to the state by June 30th.
It's 8:16, and some things are getting better out there, although it is kind of a tough commute if you're driving anywhere. This is a look at the Richmond Bridge. It's backed up from at least Harbor almost to Regatta. Bay Bridge is longer than usual, although it doesn't look that way here. The reason it's longer, we had an earlier crash. It's been gone for hours, but it really kind of set the tone. And just everywhere is slower. We look at the San Mateo Bridge, it's not a great alternative to the Bay Bridge at all. And if you're driving in San Jose, it has been slow. Let's take a look at some of these East Bay commutes. You can see how 580 is backed up out of Castro Valley all the way into Oakland. Every single East Bay freeway is slow. We couldn't possibly be here and detail all of it because we'd be here for an hour. So get out there early if you can. 8:17. Here's Devin with today's weather.
Yes, Al, we just saw across all your traffic cameras. We've got rain across the East Bay and parts of San Francisco, also out in Concord this morning, moving inland a little bit towards Castro Valley and Dublin. Also talking about today, we will see things eventually move to scattered showers later in the afternoon. Should be a mostly dry evening, cloud coverage, nice 10-mile-per-hour breeze today. Temperatures in those mid-60s for everybody across the board. Here are our highs. Certainly nice to have a bit of warm up in comparison to this time last week. Let's talk about that rain that's going to be with us for part of today. And then we're going to see a dry Thursday. So let's get the yard ready, clean out the gutters, rake all those leaves on up before we get to the next system moving in on Friday mid-afternoon, part of our evening. We'll have a little bit of a low, gray, cloudy Saturday for a bit of some certain dry periods, kind of a little bit here and there before we get our way into Saturday evening. This storm system going to go ahead and move its way in. By the time it gets to Sunday, we're going to see the potential for some isolated thunderstorm activity as well as some high winds. Once we get towards Sunday, it's going to rain pretty consistently through Tuesday as we see just band after band of moisture moving into the Bay Area. This will make for some hectic holiday travel. Unfortunately, if you're headed up the hill, it's going to make for some messy road conditions, and pretty much up and down the West Coast, you're going to be experiencing rain if you're traveling locally and using the roadways. Accumulation number is probably about 1/4 of an inch by the time things are done today. By the time we make our way through that second system ending on Friday, we'll see about 1 inch in most places. The city of San Francisco will probably hit their monthly totals by the time we make our way through Christmas. And then as we make our way into the holiday week, we're seeing all the accumulation that we normally get for the month of December within the next 2 weeks. Here's our 5-day forecast with the rain intermittent. Garcia.
Devin, thank you. Another expansion for Waymo, the latest city where the autonomous cars are now cruising the streets, and how residents there are reacting.
While many of us expect the holidays to be a magical time, in reality, they can be exhausting. High expectations, packed schedules, swinging emotions, and endless to-do lists. We'll talk more about that when you join us on the 9. This morning, though, we're asking what feels heaviest during the holidays. Your options: managing kids' emotions, keeping traditions alive, coordinating schedules, or financial pressures. To weigh in, just scan the QR code in the top right-hand corner of your screen or go to KTVU.com/vote. Let us know what you think.
Waymo's driverless cars are heading to Tampa, Florida next year, part of the company's efforts to expand across the country. Waymo's already logged more than 100 million miles of autonomous driving on public roads. The company says it's seen success in each rollout, despite being met with skepticism from riders who've never been in an autonomous vehicle before.
When you take the driver out of the front seat, you are asking people to transfer trust from a human they can see to a technical system which they cannot see.
Tampa City leaders say they're embracing the new technology. Waymo has now announced plans to expand to a total of more than a dozen markets across the country.
All right, it's 8:23. Some super fans may get a huge discount for tickets to FIFA World Cup games.
Pam Cook back in studio with this and the ongoing battle in the entertainment industry. We're talking big names and lots of money.
A lot of money, yes. And it's still unclear with what's going to happen with all of this. But this morning's big news is Warner Brothers board is now telling shareholders to reject the offer from Paramount and stick with Netflix. The big question is how this will impact all of us and the entertainment industry. But there really isn't any clear answer to that question. We're going to continue to follow this developing story. Anderson Group rang the opening bell this morning to celebrate its IPO, but the biggest IPO of the year starts trading today. Medline raised more than $6 billion in its initial public offering. It is a medical supply company based in Illinois. All right, as we take a live look at the numbers this morning, down across the board, the Dow Jones slipping just a little bit, but the big drops are on the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ. The S&P 500 down more than 0.5%. The NASDAQ slipping 1%. The tech stocks are down, AI stocks in particular, and analysts are saying they're still kind of weighing in on this jobs data that came out this week, not really painting a great picture about the current state of the U.S. economy. American Airlines betting on a luxury makeover to better compete with the rival airlines. Executives are calling the shift a customer reimagination plan. American Airlines is introducing new flagship suites on select planes that feature privacy doors and lie flat beds. The premium push also includes enhanced in-flight amenities and improved Wi-Fi. The strategy follows American reporting a third quarter loss, while Delta and United Airlines posted billions in profits. Air taxi maker Joby Aviation announced plans to double its U.S. manufacturing in California and Ohio. The plan would increase production to 4 new electric aircrafts per month by 2027. Joby's based in Santa Cruz. It makes electric aircraft powered by batteries. Toyota became its largest shareholder this past May. Toyota's investment and funding is a big reason Joby can plan to increase production. And FIFA cutting the cost of some tickets for World Cup games following global backlash from fans about the pricing. FIFA now says hundreds of $60 tickets will be made available for every match for what it is calling super fans. Those discount tickets will go to the national federations whose teams are playing. Then the teams get to decide how to distribute them to loyal fans. They may be for people who have attended previous games at home and even on the road. Some fans say they're still skeptical, though, about how many tickets will actually be available at those lower prices. I'm Pam Cook. That's a look at your dollars and cents.
All right, Pam, thank you. We're back in San Jose this morning where volunteers at Sacred Heart's Food Pantry working hard to prep meals for families in need. That's not all, though. There is also a desperate need for toy donations.
Now, we used to call this being in the zone, right? But people today refer to it as flow. How one psychologist says we can clear the mental clutter that often gets in the way of making meaningful progress on a project.
7 nations added to a full travel ban with dozens of others on a partial restriction. We'll talk with an immigration attorney about the impact she's already seeing. And clearing blight in the South Bay, why San Jose leaders say preservation rules are trying their hands, and the new proposals are tying their hands, rather, the new proposals that could rewrite the playbook.
From KTVU Fox 2 News, this is Mornings on 2.
Good morning and welcome back. I'm Garcia Michaelia.
I'm Andre Sr. It's Wednesday, December 17th, and you can see right behind us, fog remains, and we also have wet roads as well. Wet weather has moved back into the Bay Area and our region. Devin Truby is in the Weather Center to explain more forecast for today. Devin?
Yeah, Andre, I was wondering if they turned all the lights on for you guys up there. It's so gray. And we're seeing a great picture over Santa Cruz as well this morning. That's actually gotten a little bit more fogged in as we have progressed. It's not stopping the birds from flying around, though. Taking a look at current temperatures, 60 in San Francisco and raining there. Same in Concord and the low 50s in Oakland as well. Still seeing the rain with us this morning. Going to move to scattered showers by about the late afternoon. Should be a mostly dry evening into a dry Thursday. Here's a look at some early morning rain totals over the past 12 hours that we've been experiencing. These will probably go up just a little bit more before we make our way out today. And the weather has been impacting our visibility on the roadway this morning. Half a mile in Santa Rosa, a little bit better in Petaluma this morning. And other than that, Hayward now starting to get a little more fogged in as well out there. Taking a look at today, pretty much put everybody in those low to mid 60s, partly cloudy conditions, and this is the time. Thursday is going to be dry, so Sal, you got to get out there with the gutters and rake the leaves and maybe check the windshield wipers before we get to the brunt of the rain for the weekend and the rest of the week.
Oh, Devin, I'm very familiar with that. Trust me, yes. I've done it a lot, and we're going to have to do it again. Thank you for that. Let's go out and see the East Bay. There's a lot of slow traffic everywhere, partially due to a lot of earlier problems. Earlier in the morning, we had incidents, and now really it's just the leftover traffic almost everywhere you look. You know what gets me is look at 580. It is backed up solid from San Leandro. 880 is slow to getting into Oakland. So every single freeway, even if we haven't had major crashes, is a lot slower. The Bay Bridge, instead of being 20 to 30, this morning we're 30 to 40 minute delays. 8:31, let's go back to the desk.
Sal, thank you. Oakland moving forward with a major expansion of its automated license plate reader cameras. The City Council approved a new contract with Flock Safety to add more of the cameras across Oakland. The decision came after a heated round of public testimony. The council voted 7-1 in favor of the contract. Councilmember Carol Fife was the only one to vote against the deal. She expressed concerns over how the data collected by the cameras would be used.
I don't know how we get up and have several press conferences talking about how we are supportive of a sanctuary city status, but then use a vendor that has been shown to have a direct relationship with border control. It doesn't make sense to me because we can ask for another vendor.
The rest of the council agreed the cameras are needed to help improve public safety. Supporters of the contract gathered at Fruitvale Village, chanting in favor of the city adopting the Flock license plate cameras. Community activists and local business owners urged the city council to approve the $2 million contract. They argue the technology is essential given the city's current police staffing shortage and 911 wait times.
Oakland cannot afford to be an outlier. Turning off this tool risks making Oakland the easiest place to commit crimes and escape accountability.
Everyone I have spoken to is operating from a place of genuine care for their neighbors and concern for safety. Nobody in this debate is a fascist. Nobody in this debate doesn't care about crime.
The plan is still meeting resistance from privacy advocates. Many argue the Oakland Police Department has a history of violating surveillance rules and cannot be trusted with the technology.
Well, in a sweeping move, President Trump has signed a proclamation widening the U.S. travel ban to 39 countries, citing national security, and it comes after an Afghan immigrant was charged in the shooting of 2 National Guard troops last month. For insight on policy changes and the impact for certain foreigners is Miriam Masumi Dowd, principal attorney at Johnson & Masumi. Thank you so much for joining us, Miriam, this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
All right. So, Miriam, this targets people traveling into the country and people that are already here. Can you break that down for us?
Yes. The expanded travel ban essentially prohibits immigration from people from additional countries, which include Burkina Faso, Syria, South Sudan, Mali, Niger, and also individuals who are from Palestinian territories who hold Palestinian Authority travel documents. So they can no longer come to the United States on immigrant visas or non-immigrant visas. And what this travel ban has also done is it has taken away the ability of U.S. citizens to petition for their family members to come from these countries. This is a significant development with this particular travel ban. The first travel ban that Trump instituted allowed for U.S. citizens to still bring in their family members for green card cases, but this is no longer permitted with this new travel ban, which is set to go into effect on January 1st, 2026.
The other issue that I've seen here being reported is that lawyers say that they have seen cancellations of naturalization ceremonies and interviews for immigration status. Is that something that is being affected right now, at least from your perspective?
Yes, there have been reports of individuals who have already gone through the naturalization process. They passed their tests, they had their interviews, and were recommended for approval, and were just waiting to take the oath to become a citizen. And then abruptly, those citizenship ceremonies were canceled. And these are for individuals who are from the travel ban countries, which is very disturbing. It pretty much puts people in a legal limbo process. And it's unprecedented to have someone who's gone through the entire immigration process, who's gone through vetting, who's gone through background checks, and has essentially proven their ability and eligibility to become a U.S. citizen, and now that's put on pause. And
Miriam, is it clear what will happen to those people now? Because if you're stuck in this legal limbo, you don't know, you can't take the naturalization, the oath, and you were supposed to go in for that part of the process, which is likely taking some time for you to get. What is going to happen to those people now? Do we know yet?
At this point, it's uncertain as far as when these citizenship ceremonies that have been canceled, whether they'll be rescheduled or not. There are efforts to litigate this very issue of people whose immigration applications have been paused who are nationals of the travel ban countries. However, the courts have not intervened at this point to compel the Immigration Service to make these ceremonies go forward or these adjudications of other applications. So it's a wait-and-see game at this point.
So who will they wait and see? Is there another court hearing or lawsuit that has to be filed that they can kind of look forward to for hope, or are they just kind of stuck until something becomes undone here and they can figure out what's next for them?
Well, there certainly are organizations who are looking at this, who have talked about filing a lawsuit, and there are individuals who have already proceeded with filing lawsuits, particularly as it relates to naturalization. So if somebody is in this particular scenario, it is important to reach out to an attorney to see what legal recourse they have in order to move forward with the naturalization despite the travel ban. But this is something that people really need to focus on as far as their own individual cases, and then also just stay informed about any further class action lawsuits or larger lawsuits against the government on this policy as a whole. Some people stuck in limbo here on U.S. soil. Immigration attorney Mary Masumi Dowd, thank you so much for joining us this morning, providing your insight into this issue. Our time now is 8:37. The effort to fight blight in the South Bay facing another hurdle. San Jose city leaders say historic preservation rules make it difficult to clear out old properties that are heavily damaged, and these rules could be changing. San Jose City Council member Anthony Tordillos is working with Mayor Matt Mahan to propose new regulations. Property owners would be required to maintain historic or vacant buildings and prevent them from falling into disrepair.
Modernizing the preservation ordinance to make certain types of renovations easier. We also think that for certain cases, if a property may no longer have historic value, this new mechanism to actually remove it from the historic resources inventory has the potential to significantly increase the permitting process for future owners.
Although a city council committee approved the proposal 2 weeks ago, it still faces months of debate and must go through several planning and building enforcement agencies.
All right, happening today, the South Bay nonprofit Sacred Heart is beginning its annual holiday toy distribution.
But this year, the organization is having difficulty meeting demand. KTVU's Allie Rasmus live in the South Bay with the urgent plea for more toys just a week, 8 days now from Christmas. Allie?
Yes, Andre Garcia, their big event that they have this morning is day one of their toy distribution, and they are about 3,500 toys short of their goal to be able to serve all the families that pre-registered, and those families will start coming in around 10 o'clock this morning. In addition to all the toys, they are also going to be giving away bikes, and what we have over here, I'm going to show you, underneath this tent is about 30 volunteers with an organization called Good Karma Bikes. They are taking some of the bicycles that are going to be given away, brand new bikes, but they're making sure they are in tip-top shape before families come through and select one of the bikes for their kids. I want to introduce Jim Gardner with Good Karma Bikes. Tell us about the work that people are doing this morning.
So basically, we're making all these bikes safe for young people to have at the holidays. So we're tightening things, doing inflation, and making any adjustments that need.
How many bikes are we talking about?
So there's going to be 100 refurbished bikes from us and about 350 that are brand new.
And when the families are going to come through and select the bikes for their kids that they pre-register, do you get to see the efforts of your work?
We get to see the kids go crazy and the families, parents so relieved that they have something for their kid. It's amazing.
Where do you guys get the money for all these bikes? It's a lot of brand new bikes.
The new bikes are sourced by Sacred Heart. We operate a secondhand bike shop. So 55% this year of the bikes that we have refurbished are free. The other 45% we sell that covers all our overhead, so contributions go exactly to programs like this, 100%.
And how does it feel this morning to be out here with about 30 volunteers who are lending their time now?
It's tremendous, but more than that, it's such a great feeling to be with these heroes. Here are people that are out at 8 o'clock on a Wednesday morning because they care about someone else. That's the message of the season and hopefully the rest of the year.
Jim Gardner with Good Karma Bikes. Thanks for your time this morning. I think my photographer Chip walked over to show you some of the bikes that they have already ready to go. Brand new bikes that families will be able to select for their kids as part of the Sacred Heart Toy Drive. Now, in about an hour or so, we're going to be speaking with Sacred Heart again this morning because while they have all these beautiful bikes out here, they do still need more toys. Some of the families are going to start coming in today, but there'll be another wave of families tomorrow and on Friday who'll be coming to shop in their free toy store that they've set up inside Sacred Heart. So we'll be showing that coming up in the next hour and getting the message out about how you can help Sacred Heart Community Service. For now, we're live in San Jose. Ali Rasmus, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
There's nothing better than a bike. Ali Rasmus, thank you. We'll see you in a few. Coming up, all the talk about tariffs impacting holiday prices is now becoming real. We'll examine how higher costs are pushing many to make tough decisions and where we're seeing the greatest impact. This is a particularly difficult holiday period for people who've been struggling with higher prices on just about everything from groceries to gifts. President Trump's tariffs are also coming into play. Let's get some insight, as we often do, by turning to Martha Gimbel, Executive Director and co-founder of the Budget Lab at Yale. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, I can look back over the past several months. I'll tell you, few people have kept track when it comes to tariffs on China. There were wild swings here, 10%, 145%, numbers in between. Many of us don't remember. The bottom line is that stuff is more expensive. So let's focus on the practical effect of tariffs on holiday shopping in particular.
Yeah, so there's two things tariffs are doing. One is that they're raising prices. They're also making it a lot harder for businesses to plan, right? If you don't know, per your point, what the tariffs are going to be on your goods tomorrow, you may be hesitant to import. You may be, keeping things offshore until you may have some more certainty. And that can also act to raise prices. And it's all kind of coming together, that uncertainty and the tariffs themselves, to push prices up on goods.
How is holiday shopping different from what we do on a daily or weekly basis? Like, I can tell you the price of butter, milk, eggs, flour, but I have no idea what, let's say, a gaming console my nephew might want will cost.
I think the main difference is, at least for a lot of us, it's very emotional, right? I have a young daughter, and yes, I want to provide for her throughout the year, but also I really want to make Christmas special for her. It's a holiday that means a lot to a lot of us, and you really want to be able to create that magic for your kids.
So are people saying that they're readily going into debt for the holidays more so than in previous years?
I think we'll have to keep an eye on what is happening with credit cards. I should say that so far, overall, earnings are still outpacing inflation. But I think one thing people have to keep in mind is that a lot of companies have been saying that they are trying to hold off until January to pass on a lot of the costs from tariffs. That's partly because they're trying to get through the holiday season. They're also waiting to see how the Supreme Court rules on tariffs. And many of them just reprice anyway in January, so it's easier for them. And so in some ways, if you're appalled at prices now, I think we're all a little bit worried about what's coming next year.
Oh, wow. So you're telling us that even how it feels now, it could be worse in January, February?
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens, right? Economic forecasting is, as we all know, an imperfect science. But many of us are very concerned about what the outlook for inflation is next year.
Do prices ever come down, or would they just hold?
Yeah, this is a place where economists kind of differ from everyone else. We actually get worried about deflation. Deflation usually only happens in pretty severe economic contractions. So, for instance, during the Great Depression, you saw prices go down. I don't think anyone was very excited about living in the Great Depression. And so what a lot of us are hoping for is just lower and steadier price growth, like we saw, for most of recent decades. If you're having low and steady inflation of 1.5%, 2%, that is not usually a thing that stresses people out. It's when it's much higher, and also when it's so unpredictable.
Right. It's like the whole, I remember when this bag of chips was $3. Now it's $4.50, going back to that daily example. All right, Martha Gimbel, that's our time for today. Thank you so much for joining us from the Budget Lab there at Yale.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. With the new year here just about 2 weeks away, some people already looking for ways to maximize their productivity and mental clarity in 2026. You may have heard the term being in the zone in past years, but experts now refer to this heightened level of total absorption as a flow state. Experts say the psychological sweet spot comes when your brain is fully engaged in a single task, causing distractions to fade and performance to spike.
Sometimes getting into a flow state is a conscious decision that you're going to be mindfully present in the moment, focusing all of your senses on one activity. So if you're having certain thoughts that are coming up that are getting in the way, it is really just for a moment pushing those thoughts away, and then later coming back to those thoughts and thinking about how to reframe them.
Dr. Rosemead says consistent routines and lowering the pressure to be perfect can help you boost productivity in 2026 and beyond.
Happening today, President Trump will address the nation in a primetime speech. Political analysts expect him to tout the differences between his administration and former President Joe Biden. The White House says President Trump will point out his accomplishments and look ahead to new policies next year. Analysts also expect him to talk about the economy, including a drop in gas prices and possibly expiring Obamacare subsidies. Democrats say he has done little to address the affordability issue and also argue health care premiums will skyrocket if nothing is done to extend subsidies. We will have the president's address live at 6 here on KTVU Fox 2 and on our streaming platforms as well. Well, Bart says service is back to normal this morning after working all night on a track that was damaged when a car flew off of a tow truck on 580 and landed on the tracks in Castro Valley. All service in the area was shut down for several hours yesterday. Traffic was snarled during the afternoon commute. It was almost 2 hours before a crane lifted the car off the tracks and lanes reopened around 6 p.m. There were BART delays the rest of the night because BART had to single track through the area.
So I was stuck in Castro Valley for a bit. They told us 20 to 30 minutes until they could clear the track. But then after like maybe 5-10 minutes, they managed to get a train on the other track, on the other platform, and that train took us slowly, but it took us to West Dublin and then here. It was super full. I've never seen a BART train that full.
BART was single tracking through this morning, but things are back to normal now.
All right, we do have rain, and that has made the commute tougher, no doubt about it. Let's go out and take a look at the commute here at the Bay Bridge. It looks normal, but it's backed up way longer than usual, and that's just the way it has been all morning long. We have been looking at the East Bay commute, which is very slow as well, 580, 880. So if you're going to get out there right now, all the bridges, including the Dumbarton, are slow. Most of the freeways are slow. We've had some earlier crashes. It's just going to take you longer, right? It's going to take you longer on every single freeway, and especially at the Bay Bridge. So plan accordingly. 8:51. Speaking of the weather, here's Devin.
Yes, I'm going to see that rain continue into the morning hours before we move to scattered showers later this afternoon. Should be a mostly dry evening and then a dry Thursday. Taking a look at the highs today, pretty much everybody in the 60s. Partly cloudy. We'll get a nice 10-mile-per-hour breeze through the area as well. Talking about our next rain maker, though. After the mostly dry Thursday, Friday evening, we'll start to see a little bit of that storm move in. Talking about Friday, probably around 3 o'clock or a little bit after, so that'll catch you for your evening commute also. A little break on Saturday. We start to see the cloud coverage move in, but then Saturday evening, well, that's when things really start to get impactful. And then into Sunday, we'll also talk about the possibility of high winds and isolated thunderstorm activity. Once we get into Sunday, there's going to be rain pretty much throughout the entire forecast up until Tuesday. Pushing that out even further, most likely until Christmas, as we see multiple bands of moisture just continue to move in, almost like a conveyor belt, those items in the rain just coming on down. This will be impacting most of the West Coast. What that means in terms of accumulation, probably about 1/4 of an inch by the time things are said and done today. But as we get through the next rain system Friday later in the evening, we'll start to see about 1/2 inch towards Santa Rosa, a little bit more in the city of San Francisco. December is normally our wettest month of the year, so we are finally going to be catching up to those accumulation totals that we have sadly been missing. By the time we get through the most of the system into next week, closer to the holidays, we'll start to see the totals a little bit closer to what we expect normally for the month of December. So definitely a nice catch up. What this looks like in the Sierra is we're starting to see the snow levels drop on Thursday. However, those overnight lows still not really cold enough. We're going to see the slushy snow consistency through the end of this week, and then we'll probably get a little bit more snow with the following storm system next week as the temperatures continue to cool. Taking a look at the 5-day forecast, seeing the temps in the 60s, a bit cooler this weekend in some spots, but the rain is here to stay. Thursday is your day to clean out those gutters, Andre.
All right, Devin, thank you. When the holidays feel like too much, the solution isn't pushing harder. When you join us on the 9, we'll talk with an expert about why protecting your energy might be the most meaningful gift you give this season. 8:56, Napa County has approved a program aimed at reviving the struggling wine tourism industry.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Supervisors adopted a new pilot program that allows vineyards to hold wine tastings with only a state permit. Even the smallest wineries, known as micro wineries, will be able to invite guests to sample their alcohol not in tasting rooms, but in outdoors and in vineyards.
I think that it'll help a lot of people that are coming to Napa Valley to get another view of what goes on in the valley besides the big fancy wineries and all that kind of stuff.
We would be able to host people at our vineyards and share our wines on property, and it'd be really a wonderful way to build our brand.
Vineyards could host wine tastings up to 36 days a year. Events must have fewer than 50 people, including guests and staff. The new law goes into effect in January.
President Trump is expected to sign an executive order as soon as today to reclassify marijuana from a Schedule I drug to a Schedule III. The Drug Enforcement Agency defines Schedule I drugs as having no accepted medical use with high potential for abuse. Stage 3 is defined as having a low to moderate risk of physical and psychological dependence. The move wouldn't fully legalize marijuana, but would allow scientists to do more research.
Grocery store in Vallejo is being sued after 2 employees died from carbon monoxide poisoning. Attorneys for the victims' families claim the owners of La Tapatia Market ignored repeated reports from staff who suffered dizzy spells and fainting while working in the store's mezzanine. Investigators say they later discovered carbon monoxide levels inside the market peaked to life-threatening levels.
The owners of older buildings in San Francisco who were facing a 2-year deadline to add fire sprinklers may get some relief. New legislation was introduced this week to give owners of close to 10,000 apartments additional time to make fire code upgrades. A committee will review the feasibility of adding sprinklers to buildings built before 1975 and come up with criteria that could exempt some of the buildings from the mandate. If approved, the new deadline to meet the new fire code would be 2030. The cost of parking in San Francisco could be going up in the near future. To fight a large budget deficit, SFMTA is recommending increasing rates at parking meters by 25 cents an hour, increasing late fees for parking citations by 10%, and ending the Clipper Savings Program, which gives discounts to people who pay with a Clipper card. No word yet on when the SFMTA Board of Directors could vote on the recommendations. Let's go outside again. It's another damp day. In fact, not another. It's our first damp day in weeks. The rain is here and it continues. Stay with us as we'll dive deeper into the weather coming up on Mornings on to the 9 in just a minute.